Have you ever noticed how your priorities start to shift as you get older? Things that once felt essential, like maintaining a large social circle, may no longer hold the same importance. In fact, after the age of 70, you might realize that friendships, at least in the way you once valued them, are no longer a necessity. That may sound surprising at first, but when you take a closer look, you'll see why embracing independence and prioritizing your well-being could be one of the best decisions you ever make. In this video, we're diving into 6 reasons why friendships may not be as crucial in your later years as they once were. This isn't about loneliness. It's about living life on your own terms, free from unnecessary expectations and social obligations. Instead of feeling pressured to maintain relationships that no longer serve you, you can focus on what truly brings you joy and peace. Stay with me until the end, because you might just discover that letting go of certain friendships isn't just freeing, it could completely transform the way you see yourself in your golden years. Now let's get started. Number 1, you no longer need to prove yourself to anyone. One of the biggest reasons you don't need friends after 70 is that you've moved past the stage where external validation matters. Think back to your younger years, when friendships often revolved around proving yourself, impressing colleagues, or making sure you were part of important gatherings. Whether obvious or unspoken, there was always an underlying pressure to be seen, to be accepted. But now none of that really matters anymore. At this stage in life, you've built your legacy. Other people's opinions don't carry the same weight they once did, because you've come to understand that true fulfillment doesn't come from outside approval. It comes from within. You no longer need friendships to boost your status, reputation, or social standing. You are who you are, and you don't need anyone else to validate your worth. When you were younger, you may have worried about being liked, admired, or respected. But as you grow older, you realize that none of those things define your value. You define your own worth, and you don't need a group of people around you to reinforce it. Take Harold, for example, a man in his 70s who spent most of his life climbing the career ladder. He was always surrounded by colleagues, acquaintances, and so-called friends. But the moment he retired, those relationships started to fade. At first, he felt the need to hold on to them, making calls, setting up meetings, trying to keep those connections alive. But then he asked himself, why am I trying to maintain friendships that only existed because of work? Why chase relationships that never really meant anything in the first place? Instead of clinging to shallow connections, Harold shifted his focus inward. He started spending more time doing things he truly enjoyed, rediscovering old passions, and, most importantly, he stopped worrying about impressing others. Without the pressure of keeping up social obligations, he realized how free he actually felt. No more forced small talk, no more social obligations, no more worrying about whether people liked him. He was finally living for himself, and for the first time in a long time, he felt truly happy. That's the key. When you stop seeking approval from others, you realize just how much energy you've wasted on friendships that don't add real value to your life. You don't need to prove yourself to anyone anymore. You don't need to keep up with anyone's expectations. The only person you need to live fully for is yourself. Number 2, peace becomes more valuable than socializing. As you grow older, something shifts. Peace begins to feel far more valuable than constant socializing. When you're young, being around people seems essential. The noise, the gatherings, the endless conversations, all of it feels like an inseparable part of a full life. But over time, you start to cherish something even more meaningful. Silence. Not just any silence, but the kind that brings deep comfort, the kind that frees you from unnecessary obligations, social drama, and the exhaustion of keeping up with endless interactions. Even the best friendships come with a level of responsibility. There are phone calls to return, invitations to accept, and unspoken expectations to stay in touch. It's not that friendships are bad, but at a certain point, they can start to feel like more effort than they're worth. The truth is, you don't have to spend your time trying to keep up with others. You don't have to feel obligated to show up just because someone expects you to. You've reached a stage in life where your time is truly your own, and you get to decide how to spend it. Take Margaret, for example. She's 74 and used to have a large group of friends, luncheons, group calls, holiday gatherings. Her calendar was always packed. But as the years went by, She realized that many of these social interactions left her feeling drained rather than fulfilled. The conversations became repetitive. The same stories were told over and over. Some friends only called to complain, while others seemed more interested in gossip than meaningful discussions. The joy of friendship slowly turned into an obligation, and she no longer looked forward to her days. So Margaret made a change. She stopped feeling guilty about declining invitations she wasn't excited about. She let go of the pressure to respond to every call or message right away. Instead, she started embracing the quiet. She realized that the time she once spent managing friendships was now hers, to use however she pleased. She took longer walks, spent time in nature, and finally read the book she had been meaning to get to for years. Most importantly, she discovered that solitude wasn't loneliness, it was peace. And that's the beauty of this stage in life. You no longer feel the need to fill your days with constant activity or conversation just to feel connected. You get to enjoy your own company without needing continuous validation from others. You get to choose peace over pressure, calm over chaos. So if you've ever felt guilty for stepping back from social obligations, remind yourself of this. You're not withdrawing from life. You're embracing a new kind of fulfillment, one that comes from within, one that doesn't rely on anyone else. And that kind of peace, it only gets better with age. If you're still watching and find these insights valuable, comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I encourage you to hit that button and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future videos. Now let's move forward. Number 3, fewer friendships mean fewer disappointments. One of life's toughest lessons is realizing that not everyone you call a friend is truly there for you. Over the years, you've likely experienced this firsthand. People who once felt like close friends gradually drifting away, especially when you needed them most. Some relationships turned out to be one-sided, leaving you with the painful realization that the connection was never as strong as you believed. By the time you reach 70, you begin to understand that having fewer friendships doesn't just mean fewer social obligations. It also means fewer disappointments. Friendships, no matter how strong, come with expectations. There's an unspoken agreement to check in, to be there for one another. But what happens when those expectations aren't met? The frustration of calling someone who never calls back. The feeling of always making an effort while receiving little in return. The realization that you're giving far more than you're getting. And at this stage in life, do you really need that kind of stress? The answer is no. Take William, for example. At 78, he has seen friendships come and go. Some ended naturally, while others faded because he was always the one putting in the effort. People he had known for decades suddenly became too busy, too distracted, or simply too indifferent to maintain a real connection. At first, it was heartbreaking. He questioned if he had done something wrong, if he had somehow pushed them away. But then he realized the truth. He hadn't changed. He had simply stopped tolerating one-sided friendships. That's the key. When you let go of the idea that you need a large circle of friends, you also let go of the disappointments that come with unmet expectations. You no longer feel hurt when someone forgets to check in. You don't waste energy dwelling on fading friendships. Instead, you focus on the most important person in your life, yourself. This doesn't mean isolating yourself. It simply means choosing quality over quantity. Instead of maintaining a long list of acquaintances, you prioritize the relationships that truly matter, the ones that bring you joy and don't feel like an obligation. Whether it's family, a lifelong friend, or even a deep connection with yourself, these are the relationships worth keeping. So if you ever feel like friendships bring more stress than happiness, remind yourself that it's okay to take a step back. It's okay to choose simplicity over complexity, peace over frustration. You don't need a long list of friends to feel complete. You just need to let go of those who were never truly there for you in the first place. Number 4, your time becomes more valuable as you age. As you grow older, you begin to realize that time is your most precious resource. When you were younger, it may have felt like there was always more time to spend with friends, more time to invest in social circles, more time to worry about who was in your life and who wasn't. But by the time you reach 70, your perspective shifts. You start to see that every hour, every day, every moment is valuable. And when you truly understand the worth of time, You naturally become more selective about how you use it. Friendships, no matter how fulfilling, require time and effort. There are phone calls to make, plans to maintain, and while some relationships are worth it, many are simply habits we carry from the past. Connections we keep out of obligation rather than genuine joy. At this stage in life, you have the right to ask yourself, is this how I want to spend my time? Does this friendship add to my happiness? Or does it just feel like another task on my to-do list? Take Richard, for example. In his 80s, he once had a vibrant social life filled with dinner parties, group outings, and frequent phone calls. But over time, he began to feel differently. Conversations that once excited him now felt exhausting. Social gatherings that were once enjoyable started to feel like obligations. One day, as he sat through yet another round of gossip and complaints, he had a realization. He didn't want to spend his time this way anymore. So he made a change. He stopped saying yes out of habit and started saying no when he didn't feel like going out. Instead of spending hours keeping up with trivial chatter or listening to complaints, he focused on things that genuinely brought him joy: reading, walking, learning new things, and simply enjoying the peace of his own company. And surprisingly, he didn't feel lonely. In fact, he felt more fulfilled than ever because he was spending his time in ways that truly mattered to him, not in ways that others expected. That's the key. When you let go of unnecessary friendships, you gain something far more valuable: time for yourself. Time to do the things you love. Time to enjoy life at your own pace. Time to focus on your own happiness instead of constantly trying to meet the needs of others. So if you ever find yourself questioning whether certain friendships are worth maintaining, ask yourself, is this the best use of my time? Because at this stage in life, you don't owe your time to anyone. You've earned the right to use it however you choose. If you're still watching this video and find these insights valuable, please comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I highly recommend doing so. Hit the bell icon so you don't miss any future videos. Your support helps us continue creating meaningful content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. Number 5, true friendship comes from within. One of the biggest misconceptions about aging is that you need a large circle of friends to be happy. But the truth is, the most important friendship you can ever have is the one you build with yourself. By the time you reach 70, you've spent decades learning, growing, and evolving. You understand yourself better than anyone else ever could. And with that realization comes something incredible. You are enough. Throughout life, we are taught to seek friendships outside of ourselves. We are told that being social is the key to happiness, that solitude is something to fear. But there's a difference between being alone and being lonely. Some of the happiest people in their later years are those who have embraced solitude not as isolation, but as an opportunity for self-discovery, reflection, and peace. Take Eleanor, for example. At 76, she once believed she needed to surround herself with people to feel complete. She constantly made plans, checked in on friends, and filled her days with activities. But over time, she noticed something. Despite being socially active, she often felt exhausted rather than uplifted. She realized that many of her friendships were based on habit rather than real connection. Worse, she found herself constantly adjusting who she was to fit conversations, meet social expectations, and avoid feeling left out. Then one day she stopped. She decided to spend time with herself the way she would with a best friend, doing things she loved, listening to her own thoughts, and enjoying her own company. She took long walks without feeling the need to call anyone. She visited cafes with a book instead of engaging in small talk. She spent quiet evenings reflecting on life, rather than worrying about maintaining friendships out of obligation. And to her surprise, she felt lighter, happier, and more at peace than she had in years. This is something many people fail to realize. True friendship isn't about how many people you have around you. It's about how comfortable you are with yourself. When you stop relying on others for entertainment, validation, or conversation, you unlock a level of freedom that most people never experience. You no longer need external distractions to fill your time. You become your own source of joy, wisdom, and fulfillment. And the beauty of this? When you truly enjoy your own company, you naturally attract relationships with ease. Instead of chasing friendships out of loneliness, You find that the right people naturally come into your life. People who respect your space, understand your values, and bring peace rather than pressure. So if you ever worry that letting go of friendships might leave you feeling alone, remember this: the greatest companion you can ever have is yourself. And when you embrace that, you'll realize that you were never truly alone to begin with. Number 6, letting go opens the door to a more fulfilling life. One of the most powerful things you can do after turning 70 is to let go. Let go of the pressure to maintain friendships that no longer bring you joy. Let go of the belief that your social circle defines your worth, and let go of the idea that being alone means being lonely. Because the moment you free yourself from these expectations, you open the door to a simpler, freer, and more fulfilling life. Many people hold on to friendships out of habit, even when those relationships no longer add value to their lives. They attend gatherings they don't enjoy, answer phone calls out of obligation, and maintain appearances simply because it's what they've always done. But what if you didn't have to do any of that? What if you allowed yourself to walk away from friendships that feel like a chore and instead focused on what truly makes you happy? Take James, for example. In his late 70s, he believed that staying socially active was the key to healthy aging. He worked hard to keep in touch with old friends, even when those friendships had grown distant or shallow. He filled his days with social obligations, thinking that being busy meant being fulfilled. But one day he had a realization. He wasn't enjoying these interactions. The conversations felt repetitive, the gatherings felt like a routine, and deep down, he felt exhausted rather than connected. So he made a choice. He stopped forcing friendships that no longer felt meaningful. Instead, he began prioritizing what truly mattered to him. He spent more time outdoors, focused on his health, learned new things, and embraced the freedom of not having to meet anyone's expectations. And in doing so, he discovered something incredible. He felt lighter, happier, and more at peace than ever before. This is the beauty of letting go. It doesn't mean shutting yourself off from the world. It means creating space for what truly fulfills you. It means realizing that your happiness isn't tied to how many people you have around you, but rather how well your life aligns with what you truly want. And when you adopt this mindset, something magical happens. You stop worrying about who is in your life and start focusing on what brings you joy. You begin to cherish the little things. Waking up to a quiet morning, enjoying a hobby without distractions, feeling at peace with your own thoughts. You realize that fulfillment doesn't come from maintaining friendships out of obligation. It comes from living in a way that feels natural and meaningful to you. So if you've ever felt like you should be doing more to keep up with certain friendships, ask yourself, is this truly adding to my happiness, or am I holding on out of habit? Because once you allow yourself to let go, you'll find that life becomes simpler, lighter, and more fulfilling in ways you never expected. If you're still watching this video and found these insights valuable, please comment number 6 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I encourage you to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a video. Your support helps us continue creating meaningful content to inform and inspire you. Final thoughts. As we wrap up this video, take a moment to reflect on what we've discussed. The idea that you don't need friends after 70 isn't about isolation. It's about freedom. It's about letting go of unnecessary obligations, choosing peace over pressure, and embracing the life you truly want to live. Now that you've seen how stepping away from friendships that no longer serve you can actually bring more joy, more time, and more fulfillment than you ever expected. What stood out to you the most? Which part of this message resonated with you the most? Perhaps you've already started letting go of friendships that feel like more effort than joy. Maybe you've realized how much you enjoy being alone when you give yourself the chance. Or maybe this video gave you a new perspective on why prioritizing yourself is completely okay. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below and share one thing you learned today and how you plan to apply it to your life. Your thoughts matter to us, so don't hesitate to share. Reading your comments gives us tremendous motivation and encouragement. If you liked this video and found it helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support allows us to keep creating great content to inform and inspire you. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.